Part 1. The Unprovoked Strike. Ambassador Huang Yunji stood at the center of the Galactic Council chamber and felt very small. The room was massive. Thousands of alien delegates sat in floating seats that rose up toward a ceiling so high she could not see it. Lights of every color blinked and glowed around her. Strange sounds filled the air as translators worked to convert 100 different languages. She had been speaking for 10 minutes about Earth's progress, new trade agreements, scientific discoveries, the growth of their third colony world, New Busan. She spoke with pride about the 2.3 million humans who now called that planet home. Nobody was listening. High Counselor Veth, a tall creature with gray skin and 4 eyes, checked something on his personal screen. Other delegates whispered to each other. A few had fallen asleep. Yunji had seen this before. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council 40 years ago, and in all that time, nothing had changed. To the galaxy, humans were unimportant, primitive, barely worth noticing. When she finished, Veth looked up with a thin smile. "Thank you, Ambassador. Earth's quaint ambitions continue to amuse us." A few delegates laughed. "Perhaps in another 1,000 years your species will have something meaningful to contribute." Yunji kept her face calm. She had learned long ago that showing anger only made things worse. She bowed slightly and returned to her seat at the far edge of the chamber, where the minor species were placed. 3 days later, everything changed. The attack came without warning. No declaration of war, no demands, no explanation. The Dominion hegemony simply appeared in orbit above New Busan with a fleet of 200 warships. Commander Raylos stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the planet below. His species had controlled this region of space for thousands of years. They were warriors, conquerors, and they had decided that the space humans occupied would make an excellent addition to their territory. But they did not want the humans. "Begin bombardment," Raylos ordered. His voice was calm, almost bored. "Sir," one of his officers said, "they are sending surrender signals. They wish to negotiate." Raylos made a sound that might have been a laugh. "We are not here to negotiate. We are here to send a message to every weak species in this galaxy. When the Dominion wants something, we take it. And anyone in our way simply disappears." The bombardment began. On the surface of New Busan, a young mother named Park Somi held her 2 children close as the sky turned to fire. She had moved here from Earth 5 years ago looking for a better life, a fresh start. Her husband worked in the agricultural center on the other side of the city. She never saw him again. The Dominion weapons were designed for maximum destruction. Cities vanished in seconds, forests became ash, oceans boiled. The colonists tried to flee to emergency shelters, but there were not enough. They tried to send distress signals, but the Dominion jammed all communications. For 6 hours, Commander Raylos watched the planet burn. When it was over, 1.8 million humans were dead. The remaining 500,000 survivors hid in deep underground bunkers, waiting for rescue that seemed impossible. Admiral Park Do-hoon received the distress signal 12 hours too late. He commanded Earth's United Defense Fleet, though fleet was a generous word for their small collection of ships. He sat in his command center on Earth and watched the final transmissions from New Busan. He saw cities burning. He saw people running. He saw children crying for parents who would never come. And he saw the face of his younger sister, Park Somi, in the last seconds of footage before her shelter was destroyed. The Admiral did not cry. He did not scream. He simply sat in silence for a long time, his face empty of all expression. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet. "Get me Ambassador Huang, now." 2 days later, Yunji stood before the Galactic Council again. This time, every delegate was watching. News of the attack had spread across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to see what the humans would do. 1.8 million of my people are dead, Yunji said. Her voice shook with controlled fury. Men, women, children. They were murdered without warning, without cause, without mercy. We demand justice. We demand the Council act against the Dominion hegemony for this crime against sentient life." High Counselor Veth listened with his 4 eyes half closed. When Yunji finished, he made a gesture that meant sympathy. "The Council offers its condolences for Earth's loss. Truly, this is regrettable." "Regrettable?" Yunji stepped forward. "It was genocide." "It was a territorial dispute," Veth corrected. "The Dominion claims that space. Your colony was in their path. These things happen in the galaxy, Ambassador. Surely you understand." "I understand that you could stop them." "The Council has the power to—" "The Council has no interest in starting a war with the Dominion over a minor species colony." Veth's voice turned cold. "You are young to this galaxy, humans. You must learn to accept loss. We advise you to retreat to your home system and avoid further provocation." A vote was called. The result was overwhelming. The Galactic Council would take no action. Yunji stood alone in the chamber after everyone left. The lights dimmed around her. The silence was heavy and complete. She thought about the children of New Busan. She thought about Park Somi, who had sent her pictures of her garden just last month. She pulled out her communicator and sent a single message to Earth. "They will not help us. What are your orders?" Across the vast distance of space, Admiral Park Do-hoon read the message. He sat in darkness, surrounded by screens showing the faces of the dead. His sister smiled at him from a photograph on his desk. His response was 2 words: "Come home." In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Huang Yunji read the reply. She closed her eyes for a moment. Then she gathered her things and walked out of the room without looking back. The galaxy thought they knew what those words meant. They thought humanity was giving up, running away, accepting defeat like all weak species eventually did. They were very, very wrong. Part 2. The Silence Before the Storm. 3 months passed and the galaxy forgot about humanity. This was normal. The universe was vast and full of conflict. New wars began every day. New species rose and fell. The destruction of a minor colony on a distant world was barely worth remembering. Observer Talus remembered. His species, the Watchers, had lived for over 1,000,000 years. They did not fight wars or build empires. They simply watched and recorded history. Talus had seen countless civilizations destroyed by stronger enemies. The pattern was always the same: shock, grief, acceptance, decline. But humanity was not following the pattern. Talus sat in his observation chamber and studied his data screens. Every human ship had retreated to the Sol system. Every human colony had been abandoned. Every human voice had gone silent on galactic communication channels. Complete withdrawal. This was strange. Most species either fought back immediately or surrendered and begged for mercy. Humans did neither. They simply vanished. "Curious," Talus said to himself, making a note in his records. "They are neither fighting nor submitting. What are they doing?" He would find out soon enough. On Earth, deep beneath the surface, Admiral Park Do-hoon walked through a massive underground complex. The hallways were filled with soldiers, engineers, and scientists. Everyone moved with purpose. Nobody wasted time. Dr. Cho Min-ho walked beside the Admiral. He was a small man with glasses and gray hair. Before the attack, he had been a war historian, studying humanity's countless conflicts throughout the ages. Now he was the chief strategist of Earth's military response. "Show me," Park said. Min-ho led him to a massive screen that displayed information about every known species in the galaxy: military strength, weapons technology, ship designs, battle tactics, weaknesses. "We have been part of the Galactic Council for 40 years, Min-ho explained. "In that time, we studied everything. We learned their languages. We analyzed their ships. We watched their wars." He smiled slightly. They thought we were primitive and harmless. They let us see everything because they believed we were not a threat. Park studied the screen. And the Dominion? Powerful but arrogant. Their tactics have not changed in 1,000 years because they have never needed to change. They overwhelm enemies with superior numbers and firepower. They have never faced an enemy who fights the way humans fight. And how do humans fight? Minho turned to face the Admiral. We fight like we have nothing to lose. We fight with fury and creativity and complete disregard for what is considered possible. The galaxy has been at peace for so long that they have forgotten what true war looks like. He paused. We have never forgotten. We have been fighting each other for 10,000 years. War is in our blood. Park nodded slowly. Show me the fleet. They took an elevator deep into the Earth, then boarded a transport that carried them for nearly an hour. When they finally emerged, Park found himself standing on a platform overlooking an underground shipyard that stretched beyond sight. Hundreds of warships filled the enormous space. They were not elegant or beautiful like the ships of other species. They were ugly, angular, covered in weapons and armor, built for one purpose only. For 20 years we have been building this, Minho said. The Council thought our cargo ships and research stations were harmless. They never looked closely. They never asked questions. Captain Lee Yuna appeared beside them. She was tall and strong, with short dark hair and eyes that held no warmth. She had lost her parents in the New Busan massacre. She had volunteered for this mission the same day. The fleet is ready, Admiral, she reported. 400 warships, fully armed, fully staffed. Park looked at her. And the crews understand what we are asking of them? Every single person on those ships has lost someone, family, friends, lovers, children. Her voice was steady. They are not afraid to die. They are only afraid that we will fail to make the Dominion pay. On the surface, Sergeant Kang Jisoo stood before 10,000 soldiers in a massive training facility. They wore black uniforms and carried weapons designed to kill enemies much larger and stronger than humans. Every one of them had volunteered. I will not lie to you, Jisoo said. Her voice carried across the silent room. The Council thinks we are going to lose. The Dominion thinks we are weak. Every species in the galaxy expects us to die. She paused and looked at the faces before her. Young, old, men, women. All of them carried the same cold fire in their eyes. Maybe they are right. Maybe we will all die. But I promise you this, we will not die quietly. We will not die begging for mercy. We will die with our hands around the throat of our enemy, and they will remember us. The whole galaxy will remember us. 1,000 years from now, when species tell stories about the humans who came from a small blue planet and shook the foundations of the galaxy, they will remember what we did here. The soldiers did not cheer. They simply nodded. They understood. Far away, Commander Raylos received reports about the human withdrawal. He sat in his quarters and laughed. They are cowards, just as I predicted, weak creatures who know their place. Warlord Kren, his superior, contacted him through a screen. We will move on their homeworld within the year. Prepare the invasion fleet. With pleasure, Raylos said. Earth will fall as easily as their colony did. On the Galactic Council station, High Counselor Veth received a strange transmission from Earth. It contained no words, only the coordinates of New Busan and a date, 1 standard galactic week from now. His assistant asked if they should investigate. Veth waved his hand dismissively. It is nothing. Probably some mourning ritual. Primitive species do such things. He deleted the message without another thought. In the underground base on Earth, Admiral Park stood alone in his quarters. The photograph of his sister sat on his desk. He looked at her face for a long time. I am coming, he whispered. We are all coming, and the galaxy will learn what happens when you hurt our family. Outside, The ships continued their final preparations. The soldiers completed their training. The countdown continued. The storm was coming. Part 3. The Galaxy Learns Why Earth Was Quiet. Warlord Kren sat in his command chair and felt bored. He commanded the Dominion's border fleet, 300 warships floating in the darkness of space near their territory's edge. It was supposed to be an honor, but nothing ever happened here. The Galaxy feared the Dominion too much to attack. His tactical officer suddenly made a confused sound. "Sir, I am detecting incoming ships." Kren did not even look up from his screen. "Probably traitors. Let them pass." "Sir, they are coming from the direction of human space." Now Kren looked up. He smiled. "Ah, the humans. Coming to surrender, perhaps. Or maybe a desperate attack with their tiny fleet." He laughed. "How many ships?" The tactical officer stared at his screen. His hands began to shake. "Sir, I am counting 400 warships." Silence fell across the bridge. Every officer stopped what they were doing. Kren slowly stood from his chair. "That is impossible. The humans have no fleet." "They are real, sir. They are everywhere." The main screen activated, and Kren saw something that would haunt him for the rest of his very short life. Human ships filled the space before him. Hundreds of them. Not the small, pathetic vessels the Dominion had seen before. These were warships, dark and ugly and covered with weapons. They looked like they had been built by angry gods. At the front of the formation, one ship was larger than the others. Its name was painted on the hull in bright red letters that needed no translation. Retribution. A communications signal came through. Kren nodded to accept it. Captain Lee Yuna appeared on screen. Her face was calm. Her eyes were not. "This is the United Earth Fleet," she said. "You have committed an act of genocide against our people. We are here to respond. You have 60 seconds to evacuate non-combatants from your military installations. This is your only warning." Kren stared at her for a moment. Then he laughed. The laugh was loud and long and full of genuine amusement. "You dare threaten the Dominion? You are nothing but insects. Your entire species is nothing but—" 50 seconds, Yuna said. Kren stopped laughing. His face twisted with anger. "All ships, attack formation! Destroy these creatures!" The Dominion fleet moved forward. 300 warships against 400 human vessels. The Dominion ships were faster, more advanced, more powerful. Every tactical analysis said the humans should lose. The tactical analysis was wrong. Admiral Park Do-hoon stood on the bridge of the Retribution and watched the enemy approach. His voice was steady when he gave the order. "All ships, execute Pattern Omega." The human fleet did something strange. Instead of forming traditional battle lines, they scattered. Ships flew in random directions, changing speed and course constantly. To the Dominion, it looked like chaos, like panic. It was not panic. It was a hunting pattern. Human ships attacked from every angle. They did not fight fair. They did not follow the rules of galactic warfare. They used tactics that the Dominion had never seen before because humans had invented them while killing each other over thousands of years. Small human ships flew directly at larger Dominion vessels and exploded against their hulls. Pilots ejected from damaged ships and guided themselves toward enemy bridges, explosives strapped to their bodies. Human crews continued fighting even when their ships were destroyed, using emergency suits to board enemy vessels and fight hand to hand. The Dominion had never faced anything like this. Their enemies always tried to survive. These humans did not seem to care if they lived or died. They only cared about taking as many enemies with them as possible. Warlord Kren watched his fleet die. Ship after ship vanished from his tactical display. His officers shouted in confusion and fear. "They are ramming us!" one screamed. "They are using their ships as weapons! Their soldiers are boarding our vessels! They are fighting in the corridors! Sir, what do we do? Sir?" Kren had no answer. He had trained his entire life for war, but not for this. Not for an enemy that welcomed death like an old friend. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, every single Dominion ship was destroyed or captured. The human fleet had lost half its number, but the survivors did not retreat. They did not even pause. Captain Lee Yuna opened a channel to Kren's flagship as human soldiers cut through his bridge doors. "Your fleet is gone," she said simply. "Your warlord will answer for his crimes. The rest of your people have a choice: surrender and live, or fight and die. Choose quickly." The last thing Warlord Kren saw before human soldiers dragged him from his chair was the look in their eyes. He had seen many things in those eyes during his long career: fear, hatred, desperation. He had never seen what he saw now: complete, absolute certainty. These humans knew they might die. They did not care. They had already made peace with death. All that remained was purpose. Admiral Park broadcast a message on all galactic frequencies. Every species in the galaxy heard his words. This was not a war. This was not revenge. This was a lesson. Any species that harms human civilians will learn what humanity is willing to do when we have nothing left to lose. Remember this day. Remember what we did, and never forget that we are just getting started. In his observation chamber, Observer Talus watched the battle recordings. His 4 hands trembled slightly. His species had lived for 1,000,000 years. They had seen countless wars, countless species rise and fall. They had never seen anything like this. He began writing in his historical record, his words carrying the weight of 1,000,000 years of observation. "I have made a critical error in my classification of humanity. I labeled them as prey. They are not prey. They are not even predators. They are something far more dangerous. They are survivors, and survivors do whatever it takes to ensure their enemies never threaten them again." The storm had arrived, and it was only beginning. Part 4. The Reckoning. The Galactic Council was in chaos. High Counselor Veth had called an emergency session, but nobody was listening to him anymore. Delegates shouted at each other. Some demanded action against the humans. Others demanded protection from them. A few simply sat in terrified silence, watching the news feeds showing the destruction of the Dominion border fleet. In the corner of the chamber, Ambassador Huang Yunji sat quietly in her seat. She had not spoken since the session began. She did not need to. The entire galaxy was watching humanity speak through actions instead of words. "This is an outrage!" a Dominion representative screamed. "The humans have committed an act of war. The Council must respond." "The Council did nothing when they committed genocide against human civilians," another delegate pointed out. "Perhaps this is the consequence. We must stop them before they destroy everything." "And how do you suggest we do that? Did you see what they did to the Dominion fleet?" Veth raised his hands for silence, but nobody paid attention. For the first time in his long career, he had lost control. Ambassador Huang simply watched and waited. Deep in Dominion territory, the human advance continued. Admiral Park had divided his remaining fleet into 3 groups. Each group moved toward a different military target. They did not attack civilian worlds. They did not destroy trading stations or agricultural planets. They struck only military bases and warship factories. Captain Lee Yuna led the central group toward the Dominion's largest military station, where Commander Relos had retreated after the massacre of New Busan. Her ship, the Retribution, had taken heavy damage in the first battle, but the crew had repaired it with their own hands. They would not stop until their mission was complete. On the ground, Sergeant Kang Jisu led human soldiers through the corridors of captured Dominion bases. Her orders were clear and absolute: military targets only, enemy combatants only. "Sergeant," one of her soldiers called out, "we found civilians hiding in a storage area, women and children. What do we do?" Jisu walked over and looked at the terrified faces. Dominion children, staring at her with wide eyes full of fear. Their mothers held them close, expecting death. Jisoo lowered her weapon. "Give them food and water. Mark their location so the medical teams can find them, and make sure nobody touches them." "But Sergeant, they are the enemy." "They are civilians." Jisoo's voice was hard. "We did not come here to become monsters. We came here to punish monsters. Any soldier who harms a civilian will face court-martial. Do you understand?" The soldier nodded quickly. News of this spread across the galaxy. Human forces were brutal in battle, showing no mercy to enemy soldiers. But civilians were protected. Medical care was provided to wounded enemies. Prisoners were treated fairly. The humans were not savages seeking destruction. They were soldiers seeking justice. Commander Raylos did not understand this. He sat in his command center above his homeworld, watching the human fleet approach. He had gathered every remaining ship to defend this position. If it fell, the Dominion would fall with it. "They will bombard our planet," he told his officers, "just as I bombarded theirs. They will show us what human revenge looks like." Captain Lee Yuna's face appeared on his screen. Her expression was as cold as space itself. "Commander Raylos," she said, "by the authority of the United Earth Government, you are charged with genocide and crimes against humanity. You will surrender yourself to our custody." Raylos laughed bitterly. "And if I refuse, you will destroy my world, murder our civilians as I murdered yours?" "No." Yuna's voice did not change. "Your civilians are safe. They were always safe. We are not you, Commander. We do not murder innocents for territory or power. We only came for those responsible." "Then you are fools." "Perhaps, but we are fools with 400 warships in orbit around your planet. Your fleet is destroyed. Your stations are captured. Your armies are defeated. You have nothing left except a choice. Come with us willingly, or we will come and take you. Either way, you will face justice." Raylos stared at her for a long moment. He thought about the massacre on New Busan. He had felt nothing when he ordered those deaths. Humans were insects to him, worthless creatures not deserving of mercy. But looking at Yuna's face now, he felt something he had not felt in centuries: fear. He surrendered. The trial was broadcast across every communication channel in the galaxy. Dr. Cho Minho presented the evidence: recordings of the attack on New Busan, communications showing Raylos ordering the massacre, data proving that the assault was unprovoked and designed specifically to cause maximum civilian casualties. Commander Raylos sat in chains before a tribunal of human judges. For the first time, the galaxy saw a Dominion leader brought low by a species they had dismissed as primitive. "You are found guilty of genocide," the head judge announced. "Your sentence is as follows. You will spend the rest of your natural life on New Busan. You will help build the memorial to the 1.8 million people you murdered. You will maintain that memorial every single day. You will be surrounded by the names and faces of your victims. And you will live with what you did until the day you die." Raylos screamed in protest. Death would have been easier. Death would have been an escape. This was something far worse. High Counselor Veth contacted Admiral Park directly, begging him to end the campaign. "What do you want from us? Territory? Resources? Power in the Council? Name your price and we will pay it." Park's face showed nothing. "You could have stopped this with one word, Counselor. Justice. We asked for help. You refused. We asked for justice. You denied us. So we took it ourselves." "Then what do you want now?" "I want you to remember." Park leaned forward. "I want the entire galaxy to remember that when we came to you with the bodies of our children, you told us to accept it. I want you to remember that you created this. And I want you to know that we will never forget what you did, or what you failed to do." Ambassador Huang requested permission to address the council. When she stood before the delegates, the chamber fell silent immediately. "You called us primitive," she said. Her voice was soft but carried to every corner of the vast room. "You ignored our dead. You thought we would accept slaughter because we were weak." She paused and looked around at the thousands of faces watching her. "Humanity does not start wars. In all our history among the stars, we have never attacked another species first. We came to you seeking peace and partnership." Her eyes grew hard. "But we have never, in 10,000 years of our existence, failed to finish a war that was started against us. Remember that. Remember it well." She sat down. Nobody spoke for a very long time. Part 5. Silent Shock. 6 months had passed since the war began. Now it was over. The Dominion hegemony had surrendered unconditionally. Their military was destroyed. Their leaders were captured. Their empire, which had terrorized the galaxy for thousands of years, had been broken by a species they had considered nothing more than insects. The Galactic Council called a special session. Every delegate attended. Every species sent their highest representatives. This was the most important moment in galactic history, and everyone knew it. The chamber was completely silent as Admiral Park Do-hoon walked to the center of the room. He still wore his battle uniform. It was torn and stained from months of war. He had refused to change it. He wanted the galaxy to see exactly what humanity had become. High Counselor Veth stood and prepared to speak, but Park raised his hand. "I did not come here to negotiate. I came here to explain." Veth sat back down. "The Dominion killed 1.8 million of our people," Park said. His voice was calm but filled every corner of the massive chamber. "We do not demand territory in return. We do not demand resources or wealth. We do not want slaves or servants." Confused murmurs spread through the crowd. If humanity did not want conquest, what did they want? "These are our terms," Park continued. "The Dominion will disarm completely. Their leaders will face trial for their crimes. Every species in this galaxy will add New Busan to their historical records, not as a footnote, not as a minor event, as a mandatory lesson about the consequences of genocide. Every child in this galaxy will learn what happened there and why." He paused and looked around at the thousands of alien faces watching him. "We did not come here to build an empire. We came here to make sure no species ever thinks they can do what the Dominion did to us. We came here to make sure the galaxy remembers." One delegate found the courage to speak. "And if we refuse your terms?" Park turned to look at him. "Then we will leave this council and return to our space. And every species in this galaxy will spend the rest of their existence wondering when the humans will come back, and whether next time we will be as merciful as we were today." Nobody refused. Observer Talus was called forward to give testimony. His species had watched the galaxy for 1,000,000 years. His words carried the weight of that ancient history. "My people have seen empires rise and fall," Talus said. "We have watched species evolve from primitive creatures to masters of the stars. We have witnessed countless wars and countless acts of cruelty." He turned to look directly at the human delegation. "In all that time, we have never seen a species respond to tragedy the way humans do. When most species suffer a great loss, they collapse, they surrender. They accept defeat and fade into history. Humans do not do this." Talus made a gesture that his species used to indicate profound respect. "When humans suffer, they become more dangerous. They have a concept they call spite. It means continuing to fight not because you believe you will win, but because you refuse to let your enemy have the satisfaction of your surrender. This appears to be their greatest evolutionary advantage." The chamber was silent as Talus returned to his seat. High Counselor Veth stood slowly. He looked older than he had 6 months ago. The weight of his failure pressed down on him visibly. Ambassador Huang, he said, his voice tired. What does humanity want from the galaxy now? What future do you seek? Yunji stood and walked to stand beside Admiral Park. She looked at the delegates who had ignored her, who had dismissed her people as primitive, who had refused to help when her children were burning. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, but genuine. We want what we always wanted, she said. Peace, trade, cooperation, partnership. We are not your enemies. We never wanted to be your enemies. She looked at Veth. But now you know what happens if you make us one. Captain Lee Yuna stood on the observation deck of the Retribution. The ship floated in orbit above New Busan. Below, the planet was scarred and burned, but not dead. Life was returning. Construction crews worked day and night to build the memorial that would hold 1.8 million names. Sergeant Kang Jisoo joined her at the window. They had fought together for 6 months. They had lost friends and seen horrors that would never leave their memories. But they had survived, and they had won. Do you think they will remember? Jisoo asked quietly. Yuna watched the first transport ships descending to the planet's surface. Colonists were returning. Families were coming back to rebuild their homes. Children would grow up on the soil where their parents had died. They will remember, Yuna said. The whole galaxy will remember. That was the point. Dr. Cho Minho joined them, his face thoughtful. I spent my whole life studying war. I thought I understood it, but I never truly understood what humanity was capable of until now. And what are we capable of? Jisoo asked. Minho looked at the planet below. Terrible things. Beautiful things. We can destroy with a fury that terrifies the stars, and we can rebuild with a hope that defies all logic. He shook his head. The galaxy thought they knew us. They were wrong. We are still learning what we are ourselves. On the surface of New Busan, construction of the memorial had begun. It would be a vast garden stretching across the land where the largest city once stood. Every person who died would have their name written in stone. Every story would be preserved. Every life would be remembered. Commander Raylos worked among the construction crews, as his sentence demanded. He would spend the rest of his life here, surrounded by the consequences of his actions. Human guards watched him, but they did not hurt him. They did not need to. The memorial itself was punishment enough. Admiral Park Do-hoon stood at the site where the first stone would be placed. Hundreds of survivors gathered around him. Many of them were crying. Some held photographs of loved ones they had lost. All of them watched as the Admiral knelt and placed the first stone with his own hands. It bore his sister's name, Park Somi. Rest now, he whispered. We kept our promise. The galaxy knows your name. They will never forget what happened here, and they will never, ever think humanity is weak again. He stood and faced the crowd. We did not win this war for revenge. We won it for you, for everyone we lost, for everyone who will never come home. His voice was steady. We won it so that no human child, anywhere in the galaxy, will ever have to fear what happened here. We won it so the stars themselves will remember our dead. The crowd was silent. Then, slowly, they began to speak the names of those they had lost. The sound rose into the sky like a prayer. In his personal log, Admiral Park wrote his final entry about the war. They asked me once why humanity fights the way we do. I told them the truth. We fight because we love too deeply to ever let go, and we hate too fiercely to ever forgive those who take what we love. The galaxy knows us now. They have seen what we become when we are pushed beyond our limits. I hope they never forget. I hope they never test us again, because next time we might not be so merciful. He closed the log and walked out to join his people on the surface of New Busan. Behind him, the stars shone cold and bright, and somewhere in the darkness, the galaxy watched and remembered. The humans had come. The humans had conquered, And the humans had proven something that every species would remember for the rest of time. Never touch their children. Never threaten their families. Never assume that their kindness is weakness. Because when humanity fights, they fight forever. And they never, ever stop.